Hi, hello, welcome to Spell Day. We're covering a spell every single day of the year from the 5e PHP +3. Those +3 spells are homebrew spells. We're at +2 at the moment. You can head back in playlist to find them, and today's spell is Stone Shape. Fourth level transmutation, casting time for one action, range of touch, components verbal somatic material, soft clay, which must be worked into roughly the desired shape of the stone object. Duration instantaneous. You touch a stone object of medium size or smaller, or a section of stone no more than 5 feet in any dimension, and form it into any shape that suits your purpose. So for example, you could shape a large rock into a weapon, idol, or coffer, or make the small passage through a wall as long as the wall is less than 5 feet thick. You could also shape a stone door or its frame to seal the door shut. The object you create can have up to 2 hinges and a latch, but finer mechanical details is impossible. The action is what makes this. So namely, I have questions relating to stone shape. On paper, really cool concept. As in, like, it's not namely for combat, though it will have some of its uses. It's more for world building and breaking into places, but that's because it mimics effects similar to Fabricate, brings up similar questions to Meld into Stone, and then also has a similar effect to Passwall. Fabricate-wise is probably the biggest culprit, or not culprit, but the biggest downside, as it is the same level. Probably class restrictions are what limits, or not limits, but changes its utility a little bit on who has access to either or, because at base, Fabricate just beats this one-to-one. The one thing is the combat scenarios, but those are quite limited anyway. Because Fabricate, you can theoretically make a larger and complex item, alongside taking it from multiple materials, not just stone, and then also still having the ability to take that material from an already pre-existing structure, or equipment. Meanwhile, Stone Shape is a single stone object of medium or smaller and within a 5-foot space. And there you go, that's your material. And it's not even taking that material and moving it elsewhere, it is just shaping that. Question I'd leave to you is similar to the mending one of like, where does the material go? Does it shave the stone off? Does it stretch the stone out? Like if you make it larger somehow to fill that 5x5 space, is it a much like more porous stone? And if you make it smaller, does it become denser? Do you artificially make a denser material? Which are things you can still theoretically do with Fabricate if you can do it with this, so that's still not in its favor. And getting through walls! Passwall does it better. And on more structures. Is the big difference being that Passwall is a 5th level spell compared to a 4th level? But that's not too big of a leap. Especially for having more barriers to break through. But it's something in its advantage. Stone Shapes, that is. Because of everything I could bring up about instantly making statues or making certain smaller components that can be made out of stone can be covered by Fabricate of the same level. Again, yes, certain class restrictions come up in its favor, hopefully. But when just comparing them 2 to 2 next to each other, or 1 to 1, I guess, it's gonna go in Fabricate's favor in the fabrication of things. I mean, it's in the name. The question is then Meld into Stone, because the question that came up with Meld into Stone was how much of a solid rock object does it need to be? Does cobblestone count? Does a slightly broken boulder off to the edge count? If the object is slightly picking out of that 5-foot cube, does it still work?
Can you remember the tallest man you've ever seen?
If it's technically a bunch of different kinds of stones that have been mixed together in some volcanic mash, does it still count as one stone? Because Stone Shape's neat, and it has the vibe and feeling that it's an older spell that got outclassed by other spells being made like Fabricate around it. Because it fills a similar role, but with much simpler and more limited outreach. Because you can make some items, but they're a little simple. It can only be made of stone, has a limited area that you can actually affect, and breach through walls. Still good for all those things. Again, everything that I brought up with all those previous spells is great. It's just that all those previous spells do it better. Well, not Meld into Stone, but the Fabricate and Passwall. Benefit of this over Passwall is it's lower level. 4 out of 10? Nah, 5 out of 10. Because if Fabricate's either 10 or around that region, this still has its uses, it's just outclassed by another spell. And it's not that bad, the material component can be reused to an extent. It's only a 4th level spell slot, which is a little high, but it's instantaneous, so again, if you need the Passwall scenario or you need some kind of strange stone object right now to fill in some keyhole or to block a door, it's not the worst, especially since you can make something grow. The exact specifications of which are a bit dodgy, but up to DM. 5 out of 10.